A long time ago, when I was a university student in the city of Bloemfontein, there was an announcement at church service where they said a man by the name of Alan had been admitted to the university's hospital nearby, and he was very badly burnt. They wanted to know if any of us would be willing to go and visit him. So that evening I went to go and see him. I vaguely knew his daughter, and I must have seen the father, but I couldn't remember him at all. And I couldn't recognize the face because when I stepped into the hospital room, he was completely wrapped from head to toe in bandages, exactly like a mummy from a movie or from some museum. And apparently, what had happened was that he'd been camping with his son at Golden Gate in the Eastern Free State, where it gets brutally cold in winter. And he had one of these little Coleman camping stoves. And he put this thing in the back of his station wagon. And if you know anything about pressure stoves, the ones that work with benzene or paraffin or kerosene, if you pump them up and you don't preheat them properly, if you then open the valve, it will spray out this cloud of fuel vapor, which will then ignite into this incredible fireball. And that's exactly what happened in the back of his station wagon with him inside. So he was engulfed in flames and burnt completely from head to toe before they could get him out. It must have been extraordinarily painful. All that was visible were his eyes from a narrow little slit and his left hand that was kept in a Ziploc plastic bag full of what appeared to be some kind of yellow medical slime of sorts. And night after night I went there to try and inspire and encourage the man, and every evening I went home having been inspired and encouraged myself instead. Because he was such an agreeable, such a jovial, and such a positive person, and he never complained, except for once. I asked him how bad it really was, and Alan said to me, his face became completely serious, and he said, I can take it because I have to. But in the mornings, the nurses come into my room and then they say, ons moet weer velle aftrek, which is to say, sir, we have to remove dead tissue. And then they come with a nail brush and forceps to pull off pieces of dead skin and tissue. And he said to me, when that happens, I can just die. So that's the only time that he became serious about himself. The rest of the time, what a model of inspiration he was to me. So after about a week or two, one evening, I got to the hospital and Alan was gone. And the nurses told me the most extraordinary thing happened. That morning, 3 or 4 o'clock, when it was still completely dark, he went all the way down to the first floor and he checked himself out of the hospital. And he went and found his burnt out wreck of a car. They said it didn't have lights because the wiring had been burnt and the windows were gone. And in that probably sub-zero freezing cold night, in a burnt out wreck of a car, he drove all the way home, 4 hours, 400 kilometers, all the way back to his home in Johannesburg. And I never saw him again. So the takeaway I have from this little story is that in life there are mice and there are men, but then there are real men like Alan. And I don't think they make men like Alan anymore. But every time that I step on a thorn, or I cut my finger, or I burn my skin, or I suffer some form of discomfort, I think of Alan and how never once he ever complained. He was always cheerful, he was always inspiring, and he was a lasting model of manly fortitude for me to this very day.